Hi guys, it's Reagan and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be doing a very exciting type of video that I honestly love doing every year, and it is the mid-year freak out book tag, which is essentially a book tag designed to look back at the first half of the year, because we are past the middle point at this point, and look at how your reading challenges are going, what books you've loved so far, which books you haven't liked so much so far, and looking at the rest of the year ahead and figuring out kind of what are you planning to read, what are you anticipating, etc, etc. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive right in. I have my computer sitting right here, ready to go. Oh, I'll also have the original creators link down below. Before I dive into the specific questions, I want to first chat about my Goodreads goal. So I am officially 5 books behind on my reading challenge, which I feel like I've been 5 books behind for months. Honestly, probably since January 1st, I've just been 5 books behind. So far this year, I have read a total of 32 books of my goal of 70. I honestly feel like I am just designed as a human being to only be able to read between 60 and 65 books a year, but every year I always like to test and see if I can maybe hit 70. I'm the kind of person who loves a goal, but I try not to like get bogged down by it, so I'm trying my best, and I'm excited for the rest of the year to try to hit that 70 goal. Overall too, I would say this year I have really loved a lot of the books I've read. I've been trying to challenge myself to read some novels outside of fantasy, which I have been doing to success, and I've also just encountered a lot of new amazing series and some new authors that I'm so excited to kind of add to my list and kind of read all of their books. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the questions. So the first question right off the bat is, what is your favorite book so far of 2019? And for me, it is a series, and it is the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. This book absolutely caught me by surprise, swept me off my feet, and I've loved this so much. Honestly, anyone who will listen to me, I try to get to read this series. It's just incredible, such a unique fantasy world, and just you'll devour it. Like, once you start, you're not gonna be able to stop. This is a fantasy story that's set in a world where civilization and humanity is constantly threatened and kind of ended by catastrophe, usually centered around the Earth. So earthquakes, tsunamis, anything kind of like that. Mother Earth is almost like a main character in that it is like a huge destructive force. There's also individuals who can control the Earth's power in a way, and instead of being celebrated, they are strictly controlled by society and the government and kind of very much looked at with suspicion. And we follow a variety of characters, a variety of perspectives living and surviving in this world. It is incredible, dark, so many great themes, motherhood, race, identity, sexuality, like, it's just mind-boggling and incredible. And there's a reason why each one won the Nebula and Hugo Award, because it was just top-notch. So love this. Curious if anything will be able to top this year. I feel like no. I feel like I hit jackpot with this series. Next question is the best sequel you've read so far, and that for me is going to be The Missing of Claire de Lune by Christelle Dabos, another series I have been going on and on about, but I loved the sequel so much. I honestly liked it even more than the first book. This is a truly original and very unique YA fantasy series. I personally think it just has one of the most captivating writing styles and just such interesting characters and politics. Again, it's just like nothing else in the YA fantasy world right now. It's unique in that it might not be for everyone, but for me personally, I think it offers so much unique perspective. This is a world where people kind of live on spires floating in the sky. Each spire is controlled by a family spirit, kind of rooted in a variety of different religions. Our main character, Ophelia's family spirit, is Artemis. Our main character, Ophelia, can travel through mirrors and touch objects and see their pasts. In the first novel, she's basically engaged to be married and sent off to a faraway spire. The sequel was amazing. The first book was also incredible, but I felt like this one expanded on the world and the background and the history, specifically around these family spirits, so much more. Christelle Dabos brings in so much lore and like references so many unique pieces of like our world's history and religion and kind of meshes it together into this very rich like tapestry. The sequel was amazing. I can't wait for the next one. Love it. I love this series. Next question is, what book is a new release that you haven't read yet but you want to? And that for me is We Hunt the Flame. This is a Middle Eastern YA fantasy novel. I love YA fantasy. Heard great things about this, and I honestly can't wait to pick it up, and I think I'm gonna pick it up soon. But yeah, this is a recent purchase of mine, and I can't wait to read it. I mean, look at the tagline. People lived because she killed. People died because he lived. Say no more. This question is the most anticipated book you have for the second half of the year. This was really hard for me to narrow down, but I think I have to go with The Toll by Neal Shusterman. The third and maybe the final book, I'm not sure if it's a quartet, to the Scythe series by him. I'm obsessed with all the books in this series. It's just so cool. Clay also loves them, so this is definitely top of my list coming out this fall. Counting down the days. Next question is biggest disappointment. Another book I've mentioned a few times on my channel, but I'm gonna go with Wicked Saints. This is one where I just wanted it to be incredible, but unfortunately it fell short in a lot of different areas for me. Didn't love the characters, didn't love the world. The magic system was interesting, but not very well developed enough for me. It just, again, great potential, execution just wasn't quite there. 2.75 stars. But yeah, this is definitely was my most disappointing book so far of the year. Next is biggest surprise. The book I'm going with is a surprise on twofold. One, I honestly just never saw myself maybe picking up one of her books so far this year, and two, I really enjoyed it. So I was like, I'm surprised I read it, and not surprised that I liked it because her books are really well received, but like, I'm surprised that I'm gonna read more books in this series, I guess. And I'm going with Storm and Fury by Jennifer L. Armentrout. This is a very angsty, very like classic 2012 style YA Reagan read. I say that in that I used to love books like this, like Twilight and beyond, through like most of middle school and through high school. This was like my bread and butter. I've kind of deviated away from stories like this in recent years. It just hasn't been what I felt like reading. But recently, I don't know, something's in the water. I just want to read books like this so much. This is the first book to a continuation series. The first one is White Hot Kiss, which I have picked up and I really think I'm gonna continue to read. It's basically like demons and people trying to kill the demons, but oops, someone might fall in love with the demon. Very entertaining, great romance, great characters, so very surprised by this year. Next is favorite new author, and this can be like a debut author or new to you. I'm gonna go with N.K. Jemisin because, again, I read this series this year, fell in love with it. I am picking up, buying, pre-ordering, worshipping anything by this author moving forward, and like in the past if something's been released, I'm reading it all, I'm gonna love it all, and I can't wait. So yeah, N.K. Jemisin has skyrocketed to the top of my favorite authors, all thanks to this amazing series. Next is newest fictional crush from this year. I'm gonna go with The Wicked King. I read this year, and this is the sequel to The Cruel Prince, which is a dark fae, angsty YA story. Honestly, I have a crush on like every character in this book. It's dark, it's delicious, but the romance between the two main characters, I live for. They hate each other, but I live for it. So yeah, I definitely have to go with this. This is the romance I'm most committed to so far this year. Next is newest favorite character. I'm gonna go with Vasya from the Bear and the Nightingale series. I read the third and final book of this year, but this is a trilogy that I have loved from beginning to end. And Vasya, the main character, is definitely at the heart of this story. You grow up with her, you love her. She is just such an incredible character to see grow and learn and change through time, and honestly, I felt like I grew up with Vasya in this story. So connected to her and her tale, so I definitely, this is one of my all-time favorite series. It's beautiful, and Vasya is by far and away one of my favorite main characters. Next question is, name a book that made you cry. I honestly can say I don't think I've like had lots of tears this year, no like bawling, but I have had moments where I've teared up, got a little choked up, and I would say most recently, and probably the book that this happened most times for, would be The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I love this book so much. This is a very recent read for me, but I definitely found myself kind of choked up and teary-eyed through a lot of this. It's a beautiful, hilarious, vibrant story that also has definitely moments of tragedy and heartbreak throughout it, but this is a story following a woman who's like this beautiful like movie star icon. She's basically recounting her whole life and all 7 husbands she's had to a biographer, and you're learning all about her. She feels so real, and I think that's what it is about this story that made me so emotional. Like all the characters and all of their relationships just felt so like tangible. Like I just felt like all these people existed in time, and I was just kind of like peeking in onto their life, which made anything that would happen, just so heartbreaking when it, you know, popped up. But yeah, I loved this story so much. Next question is a book that made you smile, and I would have to say I've read this whole trilogy this year, and it has just been such a fun laugh out loud time, and I'm gonna go with the Crazy Rich Asians series. This has just been such a surprise, but also just like a fun ride. Like, I have been so entertained by this series. I want more. I can't wait for the rest of the movies to come out. I want a reality TV show. I want a documentary. This is like a reality TV show in a book. And if you know anything about me, just know that I love reality TV a lot. So this was really a series for me. And unlike anything I've really read before, I obviously don't read a lot of contemporary, but this makes me want to read more contemporary. So happy I read this. Next question is the most beautiful book you have bought this year. This was really hard for me. I honestly like can't think or like narrow down the book. I decided to go with a very recent purchase, Gods of Jade and Shadow, particularly because I 100% bought this book based on the cover. Like, it wasn't a cover that I fell in love with and was also anticipating because of the plot or the author I'd heard of. I literally saw this and was like, oh, that looks really cool. I'm gonna buy it. But this is a story about a Mayan god of death who sends a young woman on a harrowing, life-changing journey. And this is a dark fairy tale inspired by Mexican folklore, which also sounds incredibly interesting. I've not read any Mexican folklore inspired stories. So along with the beautiful cover, it does sound like it has an incredible plot. So I'm glad I spontaneously picked this up. The very last question is, in the rest of the year, what books do you really want to read? I'm gonna say I really would like to read some nonfiction. This has been a goal I've had for 3-4 years now that I failed terribly at every year, and you'd think it shouldn't be that hard to fulfill. I just have to pick up a nonfiction book. So I'm going to put it out in the universe again and just challenge myself to read some of the nonfiction I have on hand. I've been really into like biopics and documentaries and like mini-series of a lot of fictional events. So I'm hoping that's gonna inspire me to pick up some nonfiction as well, but that's definitely my goal for the rest of the year. Hey guys, that is the mid-year freak out book tag. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you soon with another video soon. Goodbye.